Hello, and welcome to the panel, where we take a look at graphic novels and talk about their story, art, and everything in between. Now, everyone knows the story of Superman, a superhero raised by human parents. Well, what would it be like if your dad was a superhero and you realize you're starting to get powers of your own? Totally normal life, right? And we'll grab some snacks and let's find out more about Invincible. Now, let me go ahead and introduce our amazing guest today from Diamond Select Toys Unboxed and Previews World Toy Chest, Natasha, aka Cannon Doll X.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Natasha.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I'm actually on set of DST Unboxed. I was filming today. So stay tuned over to Gentle Giant and Diamond's YouTube pages for what I unboxed this week. It was pretty awesome.
Nice. All right. And also we have actor, independent producer, and voice talent, Ulysses Campbell.
Thank you for having me. It's delightful to be able to join you today.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is such a cool book. I hadn't actually read it yet. But I think I can see why they made this into a TV show. So let's go ahead and give you a little summary of the plot for Invincible. Mark Grayson is a normal high school senior with a normal part-time job whose father, Nolan Grayson, is an extraterrestrial from the planet Viltrum, known as Omni-Man, the most powerful superhero on the planet. And at age 17, Mark begins to display superpowers, and according to Nolan, the Viltrumite race pioneers the entire cosmos on a mission of benevolence and enlightenment. So, what was everyone's initial thoughts going into, reading this? Let's start. I'll pick on Natasha first.
Okay. So I, like, you have not seen the show. And so I heard a little bits and pieces, at conventions. I'd be at people, I could hear people talking about the show or like the intensity of it or this or whatever. And so I had kind of an idea, which made me very intrigued. But when I actually got the book and got to reading, I was like, I raced right through this thing and got to the end and it's like, oh, variant covers. And I was like, wait, that's it? Like, I need more. I want to know more. So my initial thought was, I like the basis of the story. I like that his dad is this guy from another planet who just wants to, do good and help Earth and help its people and, keep everyone safe and kind of move them along intellectually and that kind of deal. And I actually thought originally that the dad, like the title was after the dad. I had no idea that there was even a son involved. So for me, that was like, oh, that's a fun surprise. And now we're seeing it play out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely was intrigued and I'm still intrigued. I want to read, I want to get more of the books and keep reading it before I even watch the show.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
What about you, Ulysses?
Well, I have to confess, I started reading Invincible with the third trade. And I had to kind of go back and fill in. And then I was reading the book monthly up until it concluded a couple of years ago. So I have a little bit of a jump on anybody who hasn't actually read it. And in fact, in addition to, because my daughter had borrowed the first trade, but I'm going to be a little sneaky. I'm going to hold up the final trade.
Oh,
because
spoilers.
Yeah, well, we'll try and limit that. But, due to an interesting confluence of events, I guess with maybe 10 issues left, I stopped buying the book. And so when I came back to it, I was like, oh my God, I have to see how this story ends. But I was fascinated with the first 4 issues because, of course, the story doesn't develop the way that one might expect. We've seen a lot of other Superman-esque type stories. I mean, everything from, Wondar and Marvel to, what is it, the Mark Waid thing where Irredeemable, And at first I was thinking, oh, well, this is an interesting take on it, because it's what if Superman and Lois had a kid? And I was going with that, especially for the first couple of issues, because you're seeing him and his dad team up, and you hear about this Justice League of America-esque team, which is also pretty cool. So, and there was also Mark teaming up with a teen team of superheroes called the Teen Team, and introducing some characters there. There was him in high school. I mean, there was just a lot of really cool stuff to inform the genre that people were going to be able to run with before the big reveal that actually occurs after the first 4 issues. So we're concentrating. But if you've seen the animated series, you already know about that. But of course, going in, we had no idea, and it was great.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now I really want to like read the rest before I watch the show.
I know. Right? I've heard some really dark things. So I know that it turns, it goes from very wholesome to not so much. But yeah, as far as the pure details of it, I don't know all of that. And I definitely I think I definitely too want to read more of the book before actually watching the show, because then otherwise, if I'm doing both, I'm probably going to be like, wait, okay, well, I'm watching that, but well, that's not like that. Like, I'll be too comparative versus let me see this, and okay, now let me see the cartoon version.
Yeah, 100%.
Chaos.
All right, but sadly, we're only going to talk about the first.
The wholesome part of the story.
The wholesome part. But let's go ahead and start deep diving into the story. So this is where I normally tell y'all about, some writer that no one's heard of yet, or, someone that, isn't a worldwide phenomenon, but I don't think anyone has not heard of Robert Kirkman. He is one of the biggest names in comics after his series The Walking Dead became known everywhere. But Kirkman's also known for creating and producing the television series Outcast and Invincible, both adaptations of his own comic book series. So yeah, that's what else can I say? I feel like everyone knows who Robert Kirkman is at this point. So yeah, let's deep dive into the story of this. I agree with you, Ulysses. It's very much a kind of, what if Superman actually had parents that knew what he was going through? How did you guys feel about like the interaction between father and son in the comic? And I will go with Ulysses first.
He is not here.
Oh no!
It looked like his power went out and then he was gone.
Oh no! Okay, well, until he gets back, we will continue on. All right. Natasha, what did you think about, the father-son kind of aspect in here?
So I was honestly like, because of the overhearing of the show a little bit, I thought the dynamic was going to be a lot different than it was. I've actually found it really refreshing that the dad was like, so, hey son, so this is, I like that it went back in time a little bit and showed when he was younger, hey, by the way, you're going to hit puberty, this is going to change, this is going to change. And oh, by the way, you're also going to have powers. Like, what? Like, here's my secret life, here's this. But like, he was really honest with them. He was open about who he was and told the backstory of how he came to things. And I did like how he touched on, and then one time I saved your mom, but that's another story for another time. I, at that moment, was like, oh, come on. Like, I want to know that story. Tell me now, And I just really liked his honesty with it, because a lot of times when you have these superhero stories and you have one person who is living this other super life or whatever, a lot of times they have it to where it's a secret and it's the other person know to protect them or like whatever, but like their whole family knows, and everybody's like, the dynamic is really just open and honest. And like, I like that they eventually have like a little team up, and it's like the dad trusts his son to do what he can, and he was like, well, don't worry, I'm going to help you, and we're going to you'll get faster, or you'll get, you know, this, or you'll get that. Like, maybe not as fast as me, but maybe one day, you know. And I really enjoyed the dynamic of it, for sure.
See, for me, just like that thing that you said where it was like, maybe you won't be as fast as me. For some reason,
Yeah.
maybe because I have like Asian mom syndrome.
Oh,
Like I saw these little like comments that the dad would say, like, oh yeah, you, who knows if you'll be as fast as me. And then the very end,
yeah,
it's like, well, I've been gone for 8 months and I've been doing, but like, I
yeah,
just see that there's like this, maybe some tension rising where this dad's like, you know, he's getting older.
mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how these people like age, but maybe like
Yeah.
he's feeling that, oh no, my son is gaining powers and like, what am I supposed to do? Hey, you're
Yeah.
back.
Hey.
I know. Internet connection issues. What can I say?
It happened.
First time this has happened in like God knows when. What did I miss?
So right now we're just talking about you know, the father-son dynamic and how it's, you know, very wholesome, but like I was talking about how I saw
Little
these
jabs.
little moments,
Yeah.
you know, where it was like, oh, the dad's like, oh, well, you might not be as fast as me, or like, yeah, you did that, but I did this, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if it's because like I grew up with Asian moms, you know.
Right. I definitely see the
little
passive
tiny
aggressiveness.
comments I pick
Yeah.
up on.
Well, let me just say that
That was an amazing break time. Let me just say.
all right, am I back?
There you are. Yay.
There we
That was
are.
amazing timing. That was almost comical timing. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, so because I was always really, I could run really fast when I was younger. And so I would run with my kids and I was always outrunning them. Well, I remember the first time that my kids actually outran me, I kind of took it personally. I mean, I tried to run faster because I'm like, no, I don't want to let you win. But I couldn't beat them. And I was like, wait, what? This can't be. So I can really sympathize with Nolan in that instance because, oh, you know, you're Mr. Crap Hot superhero, greatest superhero. And in fact, that's the way he is marketed for Invincible. You're the son of the greatest superhero on earth, you know? I mean, and all of a sudden now his kids got powers, and the idea that, you know, this Viltrumite human hybrid could somehow someday actually surpass him is beyond his comprehension. So I mean, even though he loves his child, obviously, but it's still his child, you know?
I feel like that's also kind of a check of, hey, maybe I'm getting older because now this young kid is going to surpass me, which means, you know, I'm not getting as fast, or I'm not still as fast because I'm getting older. And then, you know, like a reality check of aging. Because like Mia said, who knows how they age other than, you know, when he gets sucked into a teleport and ages, you know, 6 months go by or whatever it was.
So is this something that, Natasha, you're gonna have to like start out racing your kids now?
Right? I know. I got 3 of them. I got a lot of work to do. I can outskate them all. At least I can do that right now. Yeah.
Oh no, did we lose him again? I feel like we lost him again.
Well, it's a nice photo though.
All right. We'll keep moving on. So you know, we've talked about the father-son aspect of this. Now, what did you think about this poor mom that, you know, is just kind of dealing with all of this? What was your impression of the mom?
Oh my God. So she seems a little disconnected. Just in the, you know, something will happen. She's clearly worried, but then she's like, okay, cool. More pork chops for us, you know, more, let me just disassociate and okay, well, we still have to make dinner. Well, I still have to do this, you know, mind you, my husband is missing and now my kid has superpowers, but cool. Let me make dinner, you know. The amount of worry and stress this woman has, like not just as a mom of a teenager, but now that teenager is staying out late to be a superhero. So the husband's disappearing however many, you know, months or hours or years, you know, like having to deal with all of that. And she's human too, on top of it. Like her mortality probably feels really, really fragile. And, being a mom in the first place is hard, let alone having your kid have a superpower suddenly and then, hey, let's save kids that are being strapped to bombs. Yay.
That's a lot of worry for parents because it's
Yeah.
like they go out and hanging out with their friends and like parents are worried about them, let alone like, oh, you're gonna go stop some people with bombs on them. Yeah, that's like motherly worry times like 100 right there.
Yeah, that's where you just hope that your son is super like her, his dad,
right?
As far as being invincible.
What about you?
Did there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the mom and how she kind of interacts with the rest of the family?
Well, it's interesting to see the development of the character of Debbie because, as you point out, she starts out very much ordinary mom, making dinner, concerned about her husband and about her son. And I kind of enjoyed, even though she was trying to act nonchalant about his absence. Oh, yeah, he always comes back. When he finally did come back, she had a tear and she's like, oh, thank God. That seemed kind of right on time. So, you have to assume that at least despite her relative confidence based on his track record, she was trying to keep a brave face for Mark. But I like her character, and it's interesting because the dynamic that you expect is Superman and Lois, but Debbie doesn't seem to have a career outside the home, and so lacks that whole career woman getting in trouble, needing to be rescued or what have you, that a Lois Lane has. So that's another way that this particular story, even though it Superman-esque, sort of deviates from what we are familiar with, with the Man of Steel and his various cast of characters.
Yeah, I also noticed that she was kind of like a complete contrast to like the dad and how he's like getting older and like there's that little bit of jealousy of the son. But it's like you would expect, if someone's human married to a superhero who has a superhero son, they'd be like that little bit of like, dang, it sucks being human and I don't have these powers. But she like just takes it on and is like, yeah, this is just cool in my life and I've accepted it. So it's kind of nice that she's this, just loving mom and there's no like sense of like, I don't know, I'm a human and you're superheroes. I feel like she kind of gets it.
Well, and she might even be happy with it. I mean, I think the three of us, if we were to somehow gain superpowers later this afternoon, we'd be, picking up our heels.
What time? What time's that happening?
But believe it or not, there are some people who would prefer a normal human existence. I mean, mind blown, go figure. But, maybe, Debbie is one of those. And especially if you run in the circle of people who are superheroes, because, what's that line from Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. If bullets bounce off of you, you got to be out there jumping in the way of bullets. I mean, if they don't, hey, maybe you can be at home making pot roast, So, I think that there are, pluses and minuses with that. So, and we all have our little roles to play in this vast drama of the superhero existence, But something I thought was kind of interesting with all of that, and we'd been talking a little bit about Nolan and, being, maybe a little threatened by Mark's powers. The first couple of times that they were hanging out, he runs off to, do something, save some people, whatever. But then he goes and he comes back and he's like, I'm going to need you for this one. And I thought that was pretty cool too. Something that he can't handle in 2 seconds, So, and these characters actually, this isn't the last time that we see them, this particular alien race. So, they come back and, continue to, because they correct this problem in terms of their rapid aging that occurs when they make the transition from their dimension to our dimension. Doesn't help them any, but, they come back and, try and overcome Omni-Man here. So.
Ooh. Okay, that's exciting. Now I want to read the rest of them. Okay.
I know. I know
Now,
next time we do this, we're gonna have to do like the complete series as much as possible if we can.
we'll do a part two.
Especially honestly, if it's a Kirkman, you know, you're gonna want to dive in
Right.
more.
Oh yeah,
Right.
well, that's another thing too, because you know, anybody who's familiar with Robert Kirkman's work, and you know, I love The Walking Dead, but I like this more, and you know, it's interesting that he excels with this, and with The Walking Dead, I understand that, you know, the big reveal in terms of you know, Shane and that relationship with you know, Rick's wife and all that. Apparently, Kirkman rushed that because he was uncertain whether or not the series was going to be successful. And I'm glad in the case of Invincible, he didn't have to rush the big reveal in terms of what happens with Omni-Man, because I think stretching that out over a few more issues helps in terms of the reader's attitude, because as a reader, you're sort of lulled into this. I don't want to call it a false sense of security, but a false sense of security in that, oh, you think you know what this book is going to be. And then it takes a 180-degree turn and, you know, again, mind blown, which, you know, again, just sort of goes back to Kirkman's strength as a writer, you know, and trying to give people something that keeps them engaged. And, you know, and clearly it's worked, because now this thing is the hottest animated series going, you know. And I don't mind telling you, it's very difficult for me, having read the entire thing now, you know, to mind the fact that I don't want to give away too many spoilers, even, you know, based on what you all are saying, as far as what happens in the next 4 issues of the comic. Making it tough on me.
I know we talk spoilers on this show a little bit, but usually just in what we've read.
Gotta look forward to some new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, now before we get into art, I have one more question about characters on here. What did y'all think of the group, the team, and the little like almost girlfriend maybe that, you know?
You mean Adam Eve?
Yeah, Adam Eve.
Who doesn't hide her identity at all.
Exactly, right. What do you think, Natasha?
I thought it was really cute. I liked that you know, at first it was, you know, I thought it was going to be that kind of predictable, like, oh, you know, boy meets Supergirl and this and, you know, like whatever, but I like she's like I'm with Rex. I'm here. Like, and then how they keep getting embarrassed in class or like at school or this or like all of these things that make it look like, you know, they're going to end up together, which who knows, they might. I don't know. I haven't read that far in the books, but like, I think it's super fun and quirky. And he's like, no, that's not my girlfriend or this, or, you know, like it's perfect teenage awkwardness. And I think it just absolutely nails it of, you know, they're trying to be friends in real life as well as, you know, teaming up in the super life. And my question is, because I mean, I guess I have to wait to read all the books, is how do they have superpowers? Where are they from? Like all the things that I want to know. But definitely the dynamic of the little team. I like that, you know, it's a little mix too. You got a robot, you've got the, you know, all these, we don't really know much about the other characters and what they can do fully, but you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's this whole different, like, now it's not just like one super kid in school. It's a bunch of super kids around regular kids in a school. So it's like a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
What did you think, Ulysses? What do you think of the team?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. What Natasha said about being curious about the teen team's origins, I absolutely I identify with, because and in fact, I'll tell you what, I found it really frustrating with the oh geez, and now I'm forgetting the name of this, you know, the animated movie from Pixar, you know, with the super family that's not the
Incredibles.
The Incredibles, yeah. I wanted to call them the Invincibles, but I know
That's a different Pixar movie.
Yeah. I mean, but outside of, those characters that you knew were mutants, a la the kids, I'm wondering, how did Mr. Incredible get his powers? How did
Yeah.
they never touch on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, inquiring minds want to know. So the whole lot, and I feel like that's a key point of superhero stories. You'll want to know the origin. And, so anytime they haven't gone into that, the writers or producers or what have you, I think that there are some readers or viewers who are going to be extremely curious. But something else, when I was younger, I fantasized about having powers. This is middle school.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was last week for me.
Well, the point I'm making is it's a natural kind of thing. When you're in that environment, you have your classmates who have these powers, and you're all a team together. And I mean, whether you're sharing these stories with them or not, which is kind of cool that Invincible built on that. But I liked the teen team, and I have to tell you that these characters, Robot and Rexplode and Adam Eve and Duplicate, we see a lot more of them going forward. And
Nice.
There's a great deal more character development for all of them. And,
cool.
There are some really wonderful tweaks and arcs, very unexpected, that Kirkman provides for all of these characters to make them very rich and full. And again, I dare anybody who picks this book up to guess where things are going, because I guarantee you're not going to be able to. Whatever you think about what is going to happen is not what's going to happen. And it's astounding to me that Kirkman has been so effective at maybe suggesting certain things, or like the romance or lack of romance between Mark and Adam Eve. So okay, yeah, it would seem, but hey, but I'm one of these people who thought initially that Harry Potter and Hermione were going to be together. It just seemed like a thing to me.
Let's be honest, most people were the same boat.
But again, the whole idea that, oh no, I'm with Rex and I didn't want you to get the wrong idea. And he's, oh no, I didn't. And,
I didn't, yeah.
Well, and and I don't think this is given too much away, but Mark actually starts dating a girl in school named Amber, and she becomes his girlfriend, and they're pretty hot and heavy. So I mean, he's going in a completely different direction. Plus, as a general rule, I don't think it's good policy to date somebody who is a colleague of yours on the same team. Maybe you can date somebody on a different team. Maybe you can date a villain. It's like
no workplace romances.
Yeah, exactly. That gets kind of sticky. HR frowns on that.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's inevitable that there's going to be a clash, because we're talking about like teenagers, right? And I who didn't have like stupid fights with their friends and like little arguments and things happen, and it's just kind of high school. So add in superpowers. Let's see, we've got some comments. Let's see, Comet Toby is saying, dang, that's a nice room with all walls and statues.
Is it mine?
Yeah, it's gotta be you.
I've unboxed all of these.
And she does the poses too, as
I know.
I
do. My action shot Wednesdays. I haven't done any in a while, but they're one of my favorite things, where I try to recreate the statue or figure, but only using items around the office and studio.
I love it. It's
like
creative.
Super low cost cosplay.
I love it when stuff in the box.
Yeah, right. And then Spice Runners Lounge said, "What's up, Natasha? You know your comics. Good perspective."
Thanks, buddy. He's got an awesome unboxing show and stuff too. The Spice Runners Lounge, all Star Wars stuff.
Ooh. Geekpin is saying, "Tell that to Cyclops." Laugh out.
He's got a very bad habit that Cyclops does.
Yeah. See how that worked out?
Yeah. See, I just like that drama.
Oh,
It's just gonna be embedded in there.
X-Men. Well, X-Men.
All right. I feel like we could like talk on and on and on about the story because there's just
Yes.
so much to it. It's so great. But we have to move on to talking about the art. So Cory Walker is an American comic book artist known for his work as a penciler on the Image comic series Invincible, which he co-created with writer Robert Kirkman. And in 2020, he was revealed to be the lead designer of the Invincible animated series. Also, the other author, Oatley, began drawing Invincible with issue 8 and continued on the book for 14 years, drawing 127 issues of its 144 issue run. And during the course of his work on the book, he co-created characters including Battle Beast, Angstrom Levy, Conquest, and Powerplex. Oh, now I'm even more interested. All the names. It also kind of feels a little bit like One Piece, where it's like, oh god, okay, 144 issues. Let's do this. All right. So, what are your feelings about the art? We will start with Natasha.
Okay. So I super loved the art. I like the detail in the penciling of them, the design of them. I also really love just the dynamic colors of like each panel. But then just also little notes, like every time you went to a new chapter, I liked that it had like a little hint of what's happening or what's going on or that kind of setup. Like I really enjoyed this art. Like I didn't get lost in it. I got more drawn into the story because of the art itself. And it just like it's super fun, dynamic. I really like it.
What about you, Ulysses?
Oh, I had to go back because having read the entire run and watching because artists evolve, just like everybody else. And particularly when they have been working on the same characters over an extended period of time. And there was some confusion on my part in terms of Cory Walker and Ryan. How'd you pronounce his name? Because I've been calling him Ryan Otley. Is it Otley or
it might be Otley. I'm not normally. I double check before the episodes.
I
hope I'm not butchering.
Mia, I thought it was Otley. I'm gonna keep calling him Ryan Otley, but see, there's a character in Marvel. I call him Magneto because that's what Stan Lee called him. I will never call him by that other name, regardless. So anyway, yeah, Ryan Otley. But there was some confusion on my part between Cory Walker and Ryan Otley, and I think, even though Cory Walker started doing the book, when Otley came on, it was sort of as if he was not exactly trying to mimic Walker's style, but I almost didn't realize that there was a different artist. The transition was so fluid. And then when Cory Walker came back to the book, issues and issues later, there was a difference. And I felt like I kind of liked Cory Walker's stuff a little bit more, but in picking up the initial trade and rereading it, I was shocked because I was like, wait a minute, this looks like Ryan Otley's stuff, or at least as I had come to recognize it. And it was Cory Walker. And so I was really, really confused at what I was looking at. But bottom line is, both of these artists have done a phenomenal job. Now, there was a little bit of a difference on some of the later stuff, only because Walker initially he was inking himself. And when you're doing pencils and inks yourself, that's a little bit different. But he was inked by people like Mark Morales and Dexter Vines towards the end of his run, which made a big difference. But, again, beautiful art. I think he was able to convey the emotions of the characters extremely well. I mean, despite the fact that Mark has these little pinpricks for eyes in the first couple of books, somehow he is still able to convey a great deal of emotion with all of that. I think there are wonderful distinctions between the characters, because my observation has been frequently with more modern comic book artists, if you were to put, say, a different hairstyle on somebody, they would look like a different character, you know, I mean, because everybody's face is sort of the same. But the distinctions that he has been able to create among and between characters is great. And kind of going back to the beginning, it's just fascinating, like with the Mauler twins, for example, because they continue to be regular characters in the story. And there is a certain evolution to the appearance of those characters, similar to the evolution that other characters experience, where, you know, for a character like Robot, oh yeah, well, it's a different robot body or, you know, robot construct or whatever. So yeah, he's supposed to look a little different. But even in terms of as the characters age, you know, because spoiler, they get older as time goes on. And so I think that the artist has been really good at conveying those things too. So I have nothing but praise for both Cory Walker and Ryan Otley's art in this book.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to see them age because, yeah, for me, it feels like a very appropriate art style for teenagers, right? Like a group of teenagers, because it's like, you know, you have like the like cutesy style for kids, and then like you look at Preacher, which is just like super, I don't know, like aggressive, I guess you could say, and very adult. And then you look at this and it's like, okay, this is really fitting. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it evolves in the future. You're making everything that you say makes me just want to keep reading more.
We're like, bye, we have to go. Gotta go to our local comic shop right now.
I'm shocked that you all, I mean, this book has been out for a number of years, let me tell you, you know, and in fact, even like I said, I missed like the last 10 issues. And when I circled back around, it was actually kind of fun because I had to pick up, because I've already got them, I mean, go to that pile of books and read, oh wait, I read this, but just to kind of remember what was going on leading into that last story arc. And it was, it was like greeting old friends again, honestly, which is an experience that I have a lot of the time that I pick up comic books that I've read with which I have become enamored and particularly attached. And I got to confess, I mean, I became attached to Mark Grayson as Invincible and his various cast of characters. And, it all, like I said, don't want to give anything away, but it was a wonderful, wonderful ride as far as comics go. And I can't recommend the entire series strongly enough if you are somebody who enjoys superhero comics and something that is a little different from maybe what Marvel and DC put out, because that's the other thing with Image. I mean, the fact that you're going to get a slightly different flavor than a Marvel or DC. I mean,
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Little exotic, little pistachio, versus the vanilla and chocolate that you might get someplace else.
I have to say, to interject about what you said about how you became attached to Mark Grayson and connected and like all that stuff, that actually like gives me a little bit of hope, because usually with Rob Kirkman storyline, you try not to get attached to characters because you don't know what's going to happen to them. I've learned that after years of reading.
That's very Walking Dead centric,
right? Like,
very Walking Dead.
I relate to this character. Oh, I'm like it's that same also like Game of Thrones feel. Like I know when my husband got me into Game of Thrones, because I came in late, like I was like, oh my God, babe, like I love this character. He's like, don't get attached. Don't get attached. I'll be like, what? And then the Red Wedding happened, and I mean, like, I know. So from that and like being scarred by other, Kirkman stuff, it's kind of refreshing to hear that you can have some attachment to at least Mark Grayson.
Even Spice Runners Lounge is like, agreed, Natasha, don't get attached.
No, it's so funny you say that, because before I started reading The Walking Dead, a very good friend of mine, who was the manager of the local comic shop where I shopped at the time. When I first got into that book, he gave me some of the best advice anybody has ever given me. And he said simply, don't get too attached to anybody.
Yeah, see?
But,
see, exactly.
But for the material, that was completely appropriate. And the way Kirkman handles, well, I should say Kirkman and Walker and Oz, because, they were co-plotting a lot of stuff. But the way that they handled this book is, again, not the same. The characters don't come and go with the same frequency. They're more introducing people. Now, I have to say, and it's one of the interesting things about both Cory Walker and Ryan Ottley, they draw guts really well. There's no shortage
Good to know.
Good to know. I mean, like, oh wow, that was really interesting what happened. But even with that, there are times when. And this is going to be one of those confusing mysteries of what I say. It's like, wait a minute, wasn't that guy eviscerated in the last book? How am I seeing him again? Is this a flashback? What in the hell's going on? So,
he just left pieces everywhere.
Even when you may think somebody is gone, bear in mind, these are Viltrumites or quasi-Viltrumites, and they're pretty tough, even though their guts may be spread out over space in a particular panel. It's like,
oh my goodness.
But again, not always. It starts out, and that's another sort of word to the wise, because it very age appropriate. Yeah, it's sort of, well, more or less. I mean, being what it is, but very age appropriate for high schoolers. But all of that, I mean, again, similar to the Harry Potter books, because as these characters age, the stories become more mature. The situations become more mature, and all of that evolves along with the beautiful art that you're seeing. So, it's very much a journey that the reader is on with these characters as the story progresses.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm just so ready to read all of this.
Yep. I know where I'm going on the way home.
I know, right? Okay, so I don't even think we need to intrigue people anymore. I think everyone's going to read this. Let's get into some of our final thoughts overall. All right, let's start with Ulysses. What are your final thoughts overall? The whole shebang.
Mia, you have been going to Natasha first the whole show. No, now
finally,
it's like,
it's usually me getting stumped. So,
Natasha, I was hoping I'm going to listen to Natasha.
Yeah.
I guess it's just that. If you like superhero comics, which I do, and comics, because sequential storytelling isn't going anywhere, but comics as we know them, and I'm an old guy. I mean, I've been reading comics since the Bronze Age of comics, buying them at the newsstand and all that kind of thing. So I've really seen something of an evolution of all this, and I have to say that between war comics and horror comics and romance comics and detective comics and funny animal comics and all this stuff, the superhero thing, some people say it's seen its best days, and but a book like Invincible comes along and makes you think, oh wow, maybe there's still some place that these things can go. And a wonderful talent like a Robert Kirkman, who, and I'm not trying to pump his head up because he's got enough ego as it is, but he knows how good he is. And his stuff is always very well received because it's very well conceived. So, I guess really my final thoughts center around watching people's reaction to this stuff, since I've already been on this journey. And with the renewed interest in Invincible through the animated series, the potential changes between the comic book and the animated series. Natasha had mentioned Game of Thrones, for example, and I was an avid reader of the books. but it was an opportunity in some cases for so-called corrections, according to the author, when the TV series came along. And so if you like Lady Stoneheart, well, don't hold your breath, so some stuff like that. But, so I'm just curious as to how, because, hey, like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, all they had to do with that movie, because there was a guide and all you had to do was lift what was in the comics and put it on the page. Sorry, put it on the screen. And that didn't happen. And the film suffered as a result. So, and, having a certain attachment to the source material, I would love to see the story of Invincible translated faithfully from the comic book source material. So, just the various curiosity that I have about how well or how poorly that happens, continuing to watch audience reaction and see if it remains consistent in terms of people being satisfied with what they see, and how well the story nourishes our own sense of what a comic book is supposed to be, what a superhero is supposed to be.
I like that. And I really do understand the whole like being superheroed out a bit, and then reading this and I'm like, oh, this is good. This is new. I like this. So yeah, it really is a big difference. What about you, Natasha?
So first off, I just want to say, as a guy that was worried about going first, you sure made it really hard to go second. So just to point that out. You covered so much there. For me, final thoughts. I mean, I'm obviously hooked. I want to know about this book. Things that I love when it becomes a situation of where a book becomes a show, whether it's live action or cartoon or anything like that, is as a comic book fan, as a person who's been reading comics since I was a little girl, like, I love it when that happens, even if sometimes it goes off page, just in the fact that I feel like it can spark intrigue in people who might not know of the source material or know that it even existed, to watch the show. And sometimes it can drive them back to that source material and back to comics and that kind of deal. And I'm always excited when stuff like that happens. So like when I heard about Invincible in the first place and I heard about the show or whatever, I personally didn't even know there was a comic book. And then when I found out there was a comic book and then we were covering the comic book, I got even more excited. And I love that kind of thing. Kind of like when new franchises, might expand on their worlds and their horizons, and you get all these other shows and people are like, oh, I'm so this out or this out. But like for people who are fans of maybe that particular franchise or that particular genre, like to be able to see it now exposed to a newer generation, or maybe a generation that's older but in a different perspective or a different media. I love that, and I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to read more books, and I can't wait to watch the show and just enjoy it. And I'm so pumped about it. So
nice.
That's my
now, outside of this, though, do you have any suggested readings for people if they like this? Natasha?
I do. For once, I'm ready for this. So I am a crazy The Boys fan. So the comic version and the TV show, if you like the kind of, off-put superhero story, The Boys is definitely going to pique your interest. It is very much more mature than this, in that it's in a very, very adult series. Not just in that aspect, but definitely in the gore and the gruesomeness of what superheroes could do with superpowers when they weren't actually saving people. But The Boys is definitely my recommendation. The comic, as well as you should watch the show because it's amazing. I interviewed Jesse T. Usher a month ago, and like that guy is so charismatic, and like his character on the show is A-Train, and like you keep hoping for like a redemption arc, but he just keeps messing it up. and I love that, like that, that's appealing. Of you're like, oh, you're so hopeful, and oh, come on, man, like really. stop it, just stop it. You're like, yeah. Like as a mom, I want to go, you sit down, you stop that. Like, but that's my recommendation is if you want that kind of superhero genre, but definitely a darker, more reality twist on it, The Boys is going to be what you want to pick up.
That's a good recommendation. Very good. What about you, Ulysses?
Well, I am not prepared on that. I just say that people, comics readers, need to step outside their comfort zone and understand that we all have things that we like. I mean, honestly, lately I've been reading a lot more older trades and older comics, kind of rediscovering, some of the early Shield stories, for example. I picked up trades for Iron Fist and Master of Kung Fu.
Awesome.
Wally Wood's Thunder Agents. But aside from that, I think that some of the most creative stuff that's happening in comics today is coming from smaller and independent publishers. And, they're not all superhero stories. I mean, there's stories about families and skaters and teenagers and about lactating moms and, stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily expect, that might engage you. So I would just say, be receptive to some of the new things that are out there and take a look at that, because all of that is very much the future of sequential storytelling as we have come to know and understand it. And, so I think there is some value, even if you don't consume it, don't denigrate it, without at it and seeing exactly what it is. And then you can denigrate it if you want.
Don't knock it till you tried it is what he's trying to say, folks.
So my recommendation would just be kind of like the opposite of the wholesomeness of this, which would be Deadly Class. So
nice.
It's a school full of villains instead of superheroes. So if you want like the exact twist on that would be my recommendation. But this is also my reminder to everyone watching to pick up Invincible at your friendly local comic shop. And to find a comic shop near you, you just simply have to head over to comicshoplocator.com, and easy peasy way to find a comic shop near you. Now, before we head out, I'm going to see if any of our guests have anything that they've got coming up that they'd like to plug. We'll start with you, Natasha. What you got going on?
Actually, I am a guest appearance at the Ocean City Comic Con, December 9th. You can find all the information at oceancitycomiccon.com. It's a really, really great event. It's one day and it's so awesome. The showrunner is such a rad dude. Like, he's actually been on the show before, James. He told me to tell you hi. It is such a fun show. I went last year just for fun, and then this year got booked. I'm also hosting the cosplay contest and actually going to cosplay. So I'm very excited about that. As long as I can get it done in time, cosplay stress. But I have that going on. And then I just made the All-Stars for the Small Wonder Skate Club. So I have tournaments coming up for roller derby, and anything else you want to find out about me is at cannondollx.com. And I'm at that way. Canon.x on all social media, all the things, all the places. Or if you forget, you just Google Canon, like the weapon, doll like Barbie, and X like X-Men, and you'll find me.
Oh my God, Natasha is just kicking butt, both literally and figuratively. Oh my God,
thank you.
Awesome. So proud of you. What about you, Ulysses? What have you got going on?
Well, I host a show called Fantastic Forum that airs every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 5 p.m. It's broadcast on WERA 96.7 FM out of Arlington, Virginia. The show is also available as a podcast on all the platforms where you can download your favorite podcast, find it, take it with you. We have a number of episodes, show about comic books, science fiction, fantasy, horror fandom. And
awesome.
Tomorrow afternoon, we are going to be talking a little bit about these latest Godzilla entries, Godzilla -1 and Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And I have a very shocking admission that I am going to make, that if you want to hear it, you just have to tune. If you're outside the listening area, you can go to WERA.FM. The station streams worldwide. But you can also check out the website at fantasticforum.tv, and you can email me at producer@fantasticforum.tv. I love to hear from anybody who likes these genres that I love and embrace. So
I have to say, I appreciate that name. I see what you did there, the Fantastic Forum. I love it. I'm a sucker for a good pun and play on words, so I appreciate you.
Thank you. I'll never be able to copyright it, but
Yeah.
the publicity alone.
Yeah.
Come at me, Marvel. Come at
What
me.
was it? Oh, Fantastic Forum. Great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining me. Thank you, Ulysses, for like thoroughly hooking me on this series. I'm gonna go get the next books now. And for everyone watching, if you have a graphic novel that you'd like us to talk about, leave a comment below, and your choice could be picked for a future episode. And this is also your reminder to go and follow us at Previews World and Free Comic Book Day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, my goodbyes. Just wanted to let y'all know that heroes are a dime a dozen, but comic fans are priceless. We'll see you next time, and happy holidays. Do you have a suggestion for a graphic novel that you'd like to see discussed on the panel? Leave us a comment and your choice could be picked for a future episode.